Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to spend some of your Monday evening, September 4th, Labor Day in the US here with me. It's the end of a long holiday weekend. This marks the end of summer. But as I told Duty Ron, summer's not over till I say it's over. Still going to be around 90 in New York this week, so I think we still have some summer left. Anyway, we have a great show for you tonight. When I did the live show with you guys on Friday night, I had never in my life heard the name Ruby Franke before. And the more I learn, the less I want to know. But we're going to dive into it. And I'm going to have a special guest for you in a little minute. She is backstage working on some stuff right now. But we are going to get into this relationship between Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke. For all of you that are here so far, if you did watch my live stream on Friday and or you are very familiar with this case of Ruby Franke, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't know anything about it, put a 2 in the chat. That way I will know how much to summarize before we get started. Let's see. Okay, got a bunch of 1s. Okay, good. Everybody's pretty up to speed. Lori Ellen does not know. All right, so I will do a brief overview, and then we are going to go back in time and try and figure out what exactly happened here. Because as you know, these cases about children disturb me on a whole other level, as they disturb so many of you. And after we did the live stream on Friday, I was disheartened to see so many comments from you that, relayed stories of things that happened to you as children and how you've had to live with the pain of being, abused by someone who loved you at such an early age. And the kindness and the comments to each other was really heartwarming, and it was really, really touching. So I think I'm really happy that we're building this community here. It's really a lovely place, and I love all you guys. And I hit 7,500 subscribers today, so it's a big moment. So please share this out, like it, hit the like button while we're talking about it. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you will get all notifications when I go live or upload a video. So here we are, the case of Ruby Franke. So Ruby Franke is what you would call a family vlogger on YouTube. Apparently there is this whole genre of YouTube channel that is family vlogging, where these families, and she's not the only one, come on YouTube and they pretty much do day to day in the life. Every day they're posting videos of what's happening with their family. Ruby Franke and her husband, Kevin, have 6 children. They started this YouTube channel in 2015. It eventually grew to about 2.3 million followers. Ruby Franke has said publicly that she made millions of dollars on this YouTube channel, millions of dollars. And what became so disturbing to so many of the viewers who watched her channel was the things that she was posting, the way that she would discipline her children. Some of us might call it cruel. Some of us might call it bizarre. Some of us might call it abuse. But Ruby figured out the meaner she was to her kids and the more outlandish these punishments that she posted became, the more clicks she was getting, the more likes she was getting, the more views she was getting, the more money she was making. So her channel, and I didn't watch it, admittedly, I know a lot of you did, and a lot of you, thank you so much for really schooling me on Ruby Franke, had been watching her channel since 2015. One of the early videos was a gender reveal cake that they cut. So one of these children has been having a camera shoved in her face since the moment she was born. And so many of these videos were exploitative in some really embarrassing ways for the kids, like talking about, and not just her channel, but other channels too, like, a girl's first bra shopping, a girl's first period, boys learning how to shave. Really, really embarrassing moments. There are videos that she posted where the child would say, "Mom, please stop filming." And the mother would say, "No, you want me to film it. I know it's embarrassing. Just look at me, talk to me." I can't imagine what these kids went to going to school on a daily basis, having to hang out with their friends, knowing that their friends could see every embarrassing moment in their lives posted on YouTube by their own mother and father, Kevin Franke, who we're going to talk about because I don't know where the hell he's been during all of this. For the whole world to see. In perpetuity forever and ever and ever, because as my guest, Oblivious Benson, is going to tell you, that just because you delete something from the internet doesn't mean that it still doesn't exist out on the internet. And that's what I teach my 5 children. Just because you delete something stupid on the internet, people can still find it. College admissions, people are going to be looking at it. It's going to follow you around for the rest of your life. If you try and get a job and there's this crazy thing that you posted 10 years ago, you may not get the job. We all know that. But apparently Ruby Franke didn't care. And she kept posting and posting and posting until about her channel went dark. I think they stopped posting in about 2022. And something happened then, because Ruby Franke started a business with this woman, Jody Hildebrandt, who is a Mormon therapist. And they live in Utah, if I didn't say that already. And Ruby and Jody started this business of parenting advice, life coaching. We're going to get into all this. They had a Facebook group. It was called Moms of Truth, I think, for a while. And then it was called Connections. And there's some really, really wacky stuff that they were teaching anybody who would pay. They posted on Instagram, all kinds of things like that. But what happened last week on August 30th was that Jody and Ruby were arrested on 6 felony counts each of felony child abuse. Let's take a look. I'm going to show you Jody's first. This is Jody's arrest report. But before I do that, Kat, whenever you're ready, just give me a wait. You know what? I'll just do this, then I'll bring you in. Okay. This is the affidavit of probable cause for Jody Nan Hildebrandt. She's a 54-year-old woman who was a Mormon therapist until, and we will get into this, her license was suspended in 2012 for 18 months, and then she got her license back. So this is what happened. On August 30th of 2023, the defendant was arrested. Here's what happened, guys. This is a trigger warning. If you have not heard this story already and you are overly sensitive or in any way sensitive to horrifying stories of CA, you may want to just plug your ears for a minute. RF. Now remember, this is Ruby Franke's son. 12-year-old male climbed out of the window of an Ivins residence belonging to Jody Hildebrandt and ran to a neighbor's home. RF knocked on the door requesting food and water. The neighbor observed duct tape on RF's ankles and wrists and contacted law enforcement. Upon arrival, law enforcement observed the wounds and the malnourishment of RF to be severe, and he was transported to the St. George Regional Hospital. RF was placed on a medical hold due to his deep lacerations from being tied up with rope and from his malnourishment. Jody Hildebrandt was found to be in direct care of RF as he was staying at her home. And this is in Ivins, Utah. It's in Washington County. The arresting detective says, "I located gauze which had been used. This observation adds to Ms. Hildebrandt's knowledge of the abuse in the home. Ms. Hildebrandt requested a lawyer and did not speak with us. Once given her charges, Ms. Hildebrandt informed me EF and RF should never be allowed around any other kids. So she lawyers up, and the first thing she says to them is that these two children, because not only was the boy found, but his sister was also found in the home. And we'll get to that in a second. With this information and the belief that Ms. Hildebrandt had knowledge of malnourishment, abuse, and neglect, this charge will be enhanced to a second-degree felony. I ask that Ms. Hildebrandt be not allowed bail due to the severity of the injuries and the fact that DCFS, which is the Department of Child and Family Services, has taken 4 of Ms. Franke's children into their custody, and I have yet to speak with 2 of them. The second count of child abuse with regard to the second victim. Victim EF, a 10-year-old female, was found at Jody Hildebrandt's residence after RF made contact with the police. EF was found to be malnourished and initially refused medical. After approximately 4 hours, EF agreed to medical treatment. Paramedics arrived and transported EF to the hospital, where she was determined to be malnourished by medical professionals. Jody Hildebrandt was found to be in the direct care of EF. Once given her charges, Ms. Hildebrandt informed me EF and RF should never be allowed around any other kids. With this information and the belief that Ms. Hildebrandt had knowledge of malnourishment, abuse, and neglect, this charge will be enhanced to a second-degree felony. I ask that Ms. Hildebrandt not be allowed bail due to the severity of the injuries and that DCSF has taken 4 of Ms. Franke's children into their custody, and I have yet to speak with 2 of them. This poor child. If you watched me on Friday, we looked at a picture of this house. They had it on a news report. It's a $3 million house in Ivins, Utah. It's built like a fortress. I don't know how this poor little boy climbed out of a window when he was so weak and malnourished with duct tape around his wrists and his ankles, having been bound by rope in the basement of this monster, I'm going to say it, monster, who calls herself a therapist, who was giving parenting advice. Just because I have it up, let's also take a look at the probable cause affidavit of Ruby Franke, because they were both arrested on the same day. I believe Jody was arrested first. The other one was, I think, at 2120. And this arrest was at 2133. Ruby Franke was arrested for also 6 counts of felony child abuse. Basically says the same thing as it does in the other report, that her son, who's 12 years old, climbed out of the window of an Ivins residence belonging to Jody Hildebrandt and ran to a neighbor's home. Duct tape. Law enforcement was contacted by the neighbor. Ruby Franke was seen on a YouTube video filmed in Jody Hildebrandt's downstairs, which was posted 2 days ago. This observation adds to Miss Franke, the mother of RF, being present in the home and having knowledge of the abuse, malnourishment, and neglect. Miss Franke requested a lawyer and did not speak with us. With this information and the knowledge of what was going on, according to the arresting officer, they enhanced the charge to a second-degree felony and asked that she not be allowed bail. Same thing for her daughter, who was also found in that home. The posting of that YouTube video proved that Ruby Franke had been in the home and therefore must have known that her children were being held there. And as a mother, a lawyer, a human being, I'm horrified. I'm going to bring on my special guest right now, and she can introduce herself to you and tell her a little about herself. And then we are going to play for you the police scanner audio from that day, which is also very triggering. So again, if you haven't heard it and you're sensitive to this kind of thing, you might not want to hear it. Here she is, my friend and personal Penelope Garcia, Oblivious Benson. Hello, Kat.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
I'm overwhelmed.
Oh, you just froze up on me. Did she freeze up for anybody else? Or am I the frozen one? Oh, Kat, refresh. Maybe go out and come back in.
What? Oh no.
Oh, wait, you're back. Are you plugged into Ethernet? Usually it's me that has the technical difficulties, and you're the techie person. Are you there? Are you there? Are you there yet? Yep, she's frozen. You know what, Kat? Go out and come back in. Let's say hi to some people in the chat, shall we? Hello, Kirsten Strobel. Kirsten's happy to see you. Kaylin, love OB. She will give us the dirt. All right, you're moving again. Wave to me when you're back. Okay.
Hey.
All right, let's try this again. Hi, how are you, Kat?
It's so weird because on my end it just shows that everything's fine. But then you're like, you're frozen. I'm like, it's working. But I think it's Streamlabs. I don't know. No hate to Streamlabs, but it's
StreamYard
complicated.
anyway, but
StreamYard,
still,
whatever this is.
yeah,
I have it
no
downloaded and
worries.
I don't know the name. Hi.
Hi. Oh, you don't have to download it. It's web-based. Maybe that's the problem.
I have I got the desktop client. I'm old school, man. But let me tell you something. This is overwhelming, this whole case. All the stuff my eyes crossed earlier reading about Kevin, and I have so much to show you on him, but this 911 call is really disturbing. It really reminds me, it's like a carbon copy of the Turpins, and that's so sad. And I just can't believe that, first of all, how isolated they were. And the idea that a kid is at, like, you see your mom's best friend is one thing, but your mom's therapist, like, that's a medical professional, right? And she did nothing. She contributed.
I think she was the mastermind behind this plot, and I'm going to show you why when we get to her videos and their podcast.
Oh, I have so much to show you. The amount of, and I would normally not report anything. It's not a report, but the rumors are so much so, and there's so much confirmation out there that, especially if we're going to talk connections, kind of runs on reviews, right?
Yeah.
Like, the more reviews, the better. Look how great this is. So we can't ignore the negative reviews that came out before the arrest.
Right.
After is one thing, that could be doxing, but before the arrest, very fascinating. Ruby's own brother, I'll show you in a little bit, made a review that was negative to Jody before all this. He's the one who got her into it all. I thought it was Kevin the whole time, but it wasn't. It was actually Ruby's brother, it seems. And then that guy ended up turning on them and not being into it. And I believe this is the same, like, brother-in-law who him and the other sisters are like, oh, we're so sorry. This is awful. We haven't been in their lives. But it does seem that some of the family used her prior, and that's kind of how they got sucked in. But it's just the whole cult type of mentality mixed with MLM. It's a lot, and I'm shocked that this woman, the amount of people who claim the same story, and this is a story they're claiming, and you can find this everywhere, and it's in the reviews. It seems that her MO, and I've honestly never seen anything like this, is as a therapist, and this is my opinion, by the way, so Melanie doesn't get any heat. It seems that her MO is that she attaches herself to these wives, convinces them to leave their husbands and be around her all the time. And then the husbands end up disappearing, they get a divorce, and then Jody ditches them and moves on to another woman.
Right. This is not the first time that this scenario has happened, but let's play that. Let's pull up that police scanner audio and let's let the viewers listen to that, because it's going to give you a little better idea of what exactly happened that morning, August 30th.
Okay. Can you see this okay? I'm sharing it. Can you see it all right? Here we go.
Copy 1060.
Control 12x11, all B17, all back 17.
Tampa, this is where we said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs Thursday asking for help, said he was afraid asking for police.
Copy 17.
Tampa.
7 Alpha, 17 as well.
Tampa.
101 to back.
Tampa.
10-4, you can show me 17.
Tampa, he gave the name of Russell Franke, unknown date of birth, or he did give us the date of birth, but I'm not showing any Russells and Stillman. I'll keep looking into that. The RP said he left through the porch of the neighbor's house. 10-4, break 12x11 and 17, just 10-14. The male does have duct tape around each ankle. He's not telling the RP why. And said that there's sores around his wrists and ankles. He's becoming, or correction, the RP is becoming emotional regarding the child's health. I'm going to go ahead and have medical stage on this one.
Copy.
1X, 4323.
12x11, 12x4, or 17, sorry. The ERP said that he left from a neighbor's of Jody Hildebrandt in Ivan's 54-year-old female. Not sure if they're related. When asking the ERP's parents info, he said his mom is Ruby Franke, unknown where she lives.
Copy.
12x11, 12x17. I do have a Ruby Franke spelling with an E on the end of Franke address out of Springville. Only involvement was a traffic offense a couple of days ago.
Copy.
He's also saying that there's two of his sisters are back at the home as well.
Copy that.
Control 12x11, 23. 12x11, 12x5, will you give me a 21? 10-4. Control 6 Delta 3, will be 82 of 1 female.
Copy 82, 1057.
Control 12X17.
Go ahead.
Do you have an address for that, Jody?
10-4, 8.
10-4, can you put that on the CAD, please?
10-4. Rostina, go ahead.
Stand by.
1 Alpha, can you copy your welfare check?
1 out.
12x17, it looks like if you're at the looking out the front, go left, it's going to be your
Copy that, thank you.
Copy.
God, the in-between stuff is so boring.
RP and the Juve are going to be sitting out on the front porch. No visible weapons. The male is currently wearing a long sleeve and shorts. And medical's 23 as well.
10-4, ETA, 3 minutes, medical's in front of me. need that custodial. I'll be 21.
That's 28, thank you. 10 I'll send you Jody's 27 as well.
Copy that.
Okay, and it's ending right here.
312, control 1036.
Go for it.
Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, when you're listening to these audio transcripts, I realize they're disturbing, but you have to go through, like, the person who made this, bless them, because everybody, like, a lot of people compiled this. I compiled it too. Like, everybody's been on Broadcastify all day. And when you do this, you have to listen to it in 30-minute chunks. And I highly recommend speeding it up. And I always tell people, and I'm telling you this because I think it's important to know the source of information. You can go here, and when you do that, you can Broadcastify. You can go back and see different chunks of time from specific dates in the archives, and you can download it right here. And you can actually see the amount of people who have downloaded it. And let me tell you something. So many downloads for this specific transcript. And if the boring in between stuff that's like, it's the sound alone, I think it's because I have metal in my head. Like, it makes my eyes cross. But if you want to be able to transcribe everything that's going on and know, you're going to want to, whatever county you're going to, you're going to want to either type in the county or the state and put in police codes, or you're going to put in like 911 codes. And then it makes a lot more sense, and you can transcribe it easier and kind of know, like, if they say like 2120 or a specific thing, you know what they're talking about. It helps put it in context more. And eventually I'll send you one where it has all of that in order, so it's in context. But I just want to put that out there. So if you guys are listening to this at home and you're going, what is all this craziness in between in these numbers? That's exactly how you would read any transcript for this sort of stuff. With that said, how sad is that?
Is this the end of the audio that we have?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's not all. That's not all, guys. So there is a lot more to this call. We just don't have it for you, and we didn't want to steal it from anybody else's YouTube channel or anybody else's TikTok or anything. But eventually, what happens is that the officer is told that the 12-year-old boy has relayed to him that there is a panic room or a safe room located underneath the garage with a safe door on the front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the arresting officer, or one of the officers, goes into the house, and you can hear him going into the house. And he says, I found the door. It's got a big safe lock on it. And they said, yep, that's it. That's where you're going to find his sister. And I suggest that you try, if you want to hear it, you can go and find it. It's horrifying.
I did find it earlier, and I wouldn't recommend playing it on a live because I saw the transcript.
People have done it, and it's out there, but I just want to tell them what else happened in the scanner call. And then,
did you know what they called that room, by the way?
What do they call it? A safe room?
The women called it their podcast studio.
Oh, I didn't get that far deep into this rabbit hole.
It wasn't even in the 911 call. Like, there's 2 videos they did in the past that have since been taken down, obviously, but you can find them on I think it's a Passenger Snark Reddit. There's 2 videos in the past. It's just snippets because these women, they've apparently had multiple locations. I don't know if you saw this, but 5 years ago Kevin bought a bunch of land, and they did some stuff with their videos where they're like, ooh, our new property. And they like,
where the family did for the family vlogger
family, but it's Ruby and her husband. They bought it, and then they talked about planning this compound, which sounded again like a cult. And then they just abandoned ship. Like, the idea, it's YouTube land. So, you know, it was literally change of script. This never happened. But what's interesting is there's recordings you can, like in my background, it's always pretty much the same. In yours, it's always the same, right? Well, these family vloggers, they change locations a lot, and it's almost like a fun game for the followers to figure out, ooh, where's Jody? Where's Ruby? What are they doing this week? Look at your new studio. But what's interesting is there's 2 snippets of a room, apparently, in some of the old videos. I say apparently, I saw some screenshots of it, but I didn't watch the full video. I just saw snippets. And it's literally, it just looks like it could be this room or your room. But
yeah, but it was at Jody's house, and this was before they started recording with Jody. So
Jody
I don't know about that.
has been doing this. Like, she's got her little setup for connections. Like, she makes these life coaching.
Oh, so you're talking about Jody's old videos. I thought you meant the family's old videos.
Well, Ruby she's been spending more time with Jody. So at some point in time, basically her and Jody were recording recently in this room. And it was like a room that she used in past videos, and they called it their podcast room. And the only confirmation they have is that, look, these pictures match. And then somebody pulled real estate records, and they're like, because in real estate records, you can see like all the different rooms that are in a house. And they're like, oh, this must be this specific room. And according to the 911 call, they had 2 of them. Yeah, there was confusion over the panic room.
Because there were 2 calls coming. Okay, so we don't know that this was her panic room. Okay, the other interesting thing, though, that I want to say about this scanner call that is accurate and was not confused with another call is that Ruby Franke showed up to the hospital. So one of the officers says to the other, Mother Ruby Franke has just shown up at the hospital and wants to see her son. And we told her that the police would come in and talk to her, and she ran away. So she actually showed up to the hospital, and then she ran away.
And this is so crazy. I don't know if you saw like some of her old videos where she is actually like doing her parenting style. I watched through quite a few of them, and literally the running theme is, mom's a victim, say you're sorry because you've hurt me. Like, this is how every video goes. She's like, you hurt me, so you're restricted from this. And the angle she films them all at, it's very surreptitious. It reminds me of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard, how it's like, up in a cabinet, like, so the other can't see. She did this with her own children. Like, I don't even think they knew they were being filmed in quite a few of them. They're like crying. They're having an emotional breakdown because they hurt mommy's feelings. Yeah. And then she's like, now you can't go to the movies. She had a whole episode with Jody talking about withholding Christmas. How she sat her kids down and said, no Christmas. Like,
she took Christmas away from I think the 2 youngest. I think the ones that were being held hostage in Jody's house. I thought there were 2 kids that weren't allowed to have gifts because and everyone else got gifts. No, was it just the one?
That Christmas, it ended up being the whole family, and the kids decided to play a game. And the game was, let's take these boxes and common objects around the house and give them to each other as gifts to represent them. And she said it was fun. They played Christmas. Like, what, dude?
Yeah. All right. Going back to Jody now for a sec. So who is Jody Hildebrandt? That's what I wanted to know before I fell into this rabbit hole. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Back in 2012, the Salt Lake Tribune published an article, and I've got it here for you because I'm getting good at this screen sharing stuff. Porn therapist disciplined for telling church BYU about a man. And this is about Jody. A porn addiction therapist has been reprimanded by the state for discussing a patient without his permission with his LDS church leaders in Brigham Young University. All of the claims made by Jody Hildebrandt were false, the man asserts, but they led to his loss of privileges in the church and his ejection from BYU. Quote, she just lied wherever she went to further an agenda to destroy my life, said the man, who objected to bills that were as high as $2,000 a month. We came there for marriage counseling, and she pulled us into her porn marathon. Hildebrandt, a professional counselor, is on probation for 18 months and must meet 22 conditions, or she could lose her license. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints said Wednesday that Hildebrandt is no longer on LDS Family Services referral list due to the case. She is the director of LifeStar Utah County, franchisee of a national company based in Utah that specializes in pornography and sexual addiction. Excessive use of pornography is not recognized as a disorder by the American Psychiatric Association. The conditions on Hildebrandt's license include working under a supervisor approved by the Utah Division of Occupational and Professional Licensing. Somebody asked in the chat earlier whether there was a licensing board for therapists in Utah, and that is the licensing board that would hold her license, that would handle grievances against her license and suspend her license or revoke it. It is called the Utah Division of Occupational and Professional Licensing. The supervisor will sit in on videotape or audio tape at least one clinical session a month and review 20% of her patient files, according to a January order from the DOPL. The supervisor will also instruct her on issues related to confidentiality, boundaries, and relationships. She may also need to undergo a psychological evaluation and complete treatment if necessary. Hildebrandt, shockingly, did not return a phone call or email message. In the DOPL order, she agreed that her actions violated state law and the American Counseling Association's Code of Ethics. Hildebrandt's lawyer, Robert Harrison, said in an email that her license is, quote, active and her practice has and will continue without interruption, end quote. In 2008, Hildebrandt provided therapy to a married couple identified by DOPL only as John and Jane Doe, who later divorced. John Doe agreed to an interview, but asked not to be identified because he fears repercussions from the therapist. He has subsequently been told he can return to study at BYU if he chooses, and he is currently a member of the church. Between 2008 and 2010, Hildebrandt repeatedly discussed the couple with their LDS clergy and other mental health therapists without having signed authorization, the DOPL said. In 2009, she talked about John Doe to the honor code officer at BYU. In those conversations, Doe said she accused him of having serious problems, but never actually diagnosed him or spent enough time with him to do so. She spent hardly any time knowing about my life, he said. She didn't want to talk about my personal goals or my progress. She would only threaten me that if I didn't take more sessions and have my wife take more sessions, the alleged addiction would destroy my life. In addition, while Hildebrandt was providing therapy to Jane Doe, she allowed the woman to work in her clinic without documenting whether she had given the patient information about the benefits or risks of blurring their therapeutic relationship. You're going to see as we get more into this that this woman has no idea what ethical boundaries are or what blurring the lines of therapeutic relationship even means. In an interview, John Doe said the couple had been referred to LifeStar for marriage counseling by their LDS bishop, whose brother co-founded the Murray-based National LifeStar Network, licenses others to use its counseling materials. John Doe said he did not have addiction issues, and once he began to question Hildebrandt's therapy, which cost $1,200 to $2,000 a month, and remember, this is going back to $2,008, his personal life started to unravel. He believes Hildebrandt was using his marriage as leverage for me to pay for everything. Goes on to talk about how she was licensed to use that company's materials and that they are on the LDS authorized referral list. But Hildebrandt was listed as a speaker addressing pornography at the 2010 BYU Women's Conference.
Ooh, I bet we could find that speech.
Oh yeah, we could look for that. Sure. Licensing requirements in Utah to be and people were asking about this as well. What are the licensing requirements in Utah to be a licensed therapist? To be licensed in Utah as a professional counselor, according to the Salt Lake Tribune. In 2012, a therapist must have a master's degree or doctorate in mental health counseling or an equivalent degree. It must be from a school accredited by one of several professional councils selected by the Utah Division of DOPL also set standards for the type of coursework required. So all the way back in 2008, which is what led to her having her license suspended in 2012, this woman, Jody Hildebrandt, apparently did not know anything about doctor-patient confidentiality. She still doesn't.
I have proof of it. Can I screen share something with you?
Sure. But also let's point out that Jody Hildebrandt was the therapist for Chad, the oldest son of Ruby and Kevin Franke, and that Jody Hildebrandt, before going into business with Ruby Franke, was the marriage counselor for Ruby and Kevin Franke.
Mm-hmm. And I'm about to show you a picture. Did it screen share?
Oh, and do I need to? Okay.
Yeah.
Right here.
Check this out. Do you know who that is?
Bo. Oh, that's Ruby's brother-in-law or brother. Oh, wait a second. We have a comment. One of our viewers actually pointed that out.
Connections page. This is his review of Jody's page. Now, keep in mind, this is the brother.
Cheryl says Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
Ruby's brother. He recommended Jody he brought them all into this. This is the review of Jody a year ago that he left.
You want to read it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm very concerned that what I've shared gets gossiped about among others. I've scheduled an appointment that was canceled without informing me. Jody ignores my request for a receipt of services. Thank you for sharing your concerns, Bo. I am sorry you had this experience with Connections. We value everyone's privacy and have policies in place to protect our clients and maintain confidentiality. We will use your feedback, blah, 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 blah. What a discount of what he said, but also, holy moly, dude. This is her brother.
Do you know when that review was left?
This was a year ago.
So that was like from today, and it says it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's from this week. Well, this week, this screenshot was taken, and it was from a year ago.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he had introduced them. Something happened, and then he leaves a review a year ago of 1 star.
As Kathy said.
Yep. And apparently, yes, exactly as Kathy said. And apparently, not only that, but when he talks about being gossiped about, if you go back and listen to, which I don't recommend it because it is annoying, but if you go back and listen to the Spotify episodes and stuff.
Oh, I've got some pulled. We're going to listen to them. I've got some clips for us.
There's a lot of subtext in there where they make where she makes subtle digs at people. And when you go, specifically men, let me just put it this way. Jody is the pantsuit lady who hates the husbands. She wants all the female clients to move in with her. She kind of wants to take control of what I think is the wallet. This is just my opinion. I believe in Utah, from what I could tell, it seems like women overwhelmingly get a lot of support should they go through a divorce. And you know, they always say court side with the moms. It's very big there. I do think that this is kind of I don't know what the word is, like a VIG. It's a scheme, essentially. Like, go for the purse strings, lock them down, get them in your house. It reminds me of a book called Running with Scissors by Augustin Burroughs.
Running with Scissors. Yeah.
Do you remember his mom moved in with his therapist and the whole family would have to be there, and the therapist was a psycho? And what's weird is I've seen a lot of cold cases with nefarious stuff going on where, oddly enough, you see a lot of convicts who have mental illness who are living with their therapists, and the therapists almost always get disbarred later. So it's very fascinating. And I'm wondering if there's a word for that, but the ethical boundary between therapist and, hey, come live with me, I'm your therapist, it's obvious. And it's crazy how many people do that. And it's not like in a medical setting. It's like, come stay at my house. And I have
they worm their way into the family.
Mm-hmm.
They worm their way. And was she using Ruby for the 2.3 million followers that she had?
Oh, totally. I mean, and not only that, like the whole situation, you kind of also see her situation level up as time goes on. And the longer you see Ruby there, I think the more together Connections comes, if that makes sense. Like the aesthetic of it.
Well, and Jody is the founder of Connections. Yeah. So she's the one responding, where it says response from the owner. This is her response. I'm going to play for you a little video that Kat found for me, because I have it up here. Who is Jody Hildebrandt video. And this is from her own Facebook page. So she's going to tell you exactly who she is. From As Such the Horse's Mouth, who is Jody Hildebrandt.
Connection requires someone to live principles of being honest, responsible, and humble.
She is a mother.
So vulnerability means I'm willing to accept the state of existence in this world.
There's
Honesty
Jody.
and responsibility and humility are at the foundation of living a life that's connected.
I had one of the most.
And as time goes on and the more time
That's
she spends with Ruby, she really levels up on the video editing, the couch. They get little cool Britney Spears headsets. It's like, where's she getting this money? It's from the followers that she's picking up. And
well, that video, I just closed the tab. You know how I keep a million tabs open? I think that video was posted when was it posted?
I think it was 2020, maybe. That it's a symbiotic scam. And
She started this business though in 2012, which is interesting because that's when her license was suspended. So she wasn't getting the referrals anymore from the church and from the other whatever plans she was taking that she was on the referral list for. So now she had to go start her own business. And this
life
was it.
Coaching is, there's blurred lines on certificate, like kind of anyone can do it. I've always maintained that life coaching in itself is like the ultimate MLM. It's like, hey, let me teach you to be a person and control everything for you. Like it takes a real narcissist to think you can do that. Like you really got to have your stuff together in life. Like you got to be killing it out there. You got to be the Rock. Honestly, that's the only life coach I would ever trust, because these Jody, like you're gonna give, can you show them? I'm sure you have it, what she charges.
Oh yes, we have that. We have the rate sheet. Sure.
God, dude.
We have the rate sheet, and then we have some fun some other fun podcast audio to listen to. But in the meantime,
technically, this is a good point. Somebody says, Amy says, seems like she feels she's above the law and policies. What's interesting is when you come at it from a religious angle, in many ways, you are above the law, especially, and I'm saying any religion, like there are protections where, religious tradition and things that a specific religion allows has been fought in the Supreme Court to like show, hey, we can't control it. Like, this is part of your tradition. It's like how Rastafarians, get away with smoking pot and stuff. Like it's part of my religious tradition. And it's very fascinating how that can very quickly be warped. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to pay taxes because I'm a church, but I'm going to funnel all that money into getting cars is a really big one too. Like, and there's no checks and balances. So just imagine how difficult it is if you're a minor and you need help and you go to the police and let's say your family is operating on a religious compound or they happen to be on religious land. There's actually restrictions for the cops on what they can and can't do according to what your religion allows. If it's spare the rod, there's a chance that could be laissez-faire to the cops. And that's really scary for kids. Oh God, look at that.
Here's the price sheet for Connections, which came first, Moms of Truth or Connections?
I think Connections and Moms of Truth kind of merged. So there's like a Moms of Truth thing that's the best way I can explain it is with gangs. Like there's MS-13 and then there's a little street level gangs. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. I feel like Connections is MS-13. And then the street level gangs are going to be Moms of Truth, because Moms of Truth is like an independent, anybody can slap that on their URL by buying a small membership, just like any other website or WordPress, stuff like that, like a blogging site. But what's interesting about Connections is like, it's literally, this is professional life coaching from a woman who is doesn't have her license anymore. And you come here and I'll teach you how to have a good marriage. But I don't really see Jody on any of these with a good marriage. And it's fascinating to me that she's giving this advice and there's so many divorces and so many husbands going on reviewing it later being like, yo, this woman destroyed my life.
Yeah.
It's very shocking. And I kind of can't believe anyone would pay that much for a session for a real therapist.
A one-on-one training with Jody is $181 a session for 50 minutes to get personal help and feedback on your unique situation and needs. And like that patient of hers said in 2008, which led to her license suspension, she kept, wanting more money. It was costing him up to $2,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. And also 50. Not an hour. You're not paying 180 and also 181. What's with the numbers here? It's super weird. Who charges $181? Why not just 180? And also give me my full hour, Jody. Like if you're gonna do one-on-one with me, give me my full hour. If we're going out for pee breaks, just add that to it. Give me this is so crazy. Think about it. If you're hanging out at her house, is she charging you? Is it like you're a lawyer, you know, you can charge people for their time if they're seeking law advice. Like, is Jody charging her to stay with her?
Oh, that I have no idea. Lawyers bill a 1/10 of an hour, 6-minute increments. So if you're billing out at $900 an hour, you're paying every 6 minutes, a 1/10 of an hour.
But people like Jody, she's gonna she's milking everybody. I do truly wonder if Ruby is actively paying for this friendship and giving her followers in the process.
Well, she's not paying for anything now because they're both sitting in a prison cell or jail cell. And hopefully they will be there for a very long time, because each of those 6 counts of felony child abuse that they have each been charged with carries a maximum penalty of 15 years. And it is my hope that when they do appear in court for their first appearance on September 8th, that it will be televised. And I say that I think it probably will be, because there was some Corey Richens stuff that's also happening in Utah that was televised. So fingers crossed for cameras in the courtroom for these two on September 8th. I want to play for a second. I have a little snippet of what's that? Let's play a little bit of the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So they did this podcast called what the hell is this? Is the Connections podcast. And this is the August 19th episode. Okay. So remember, they were both arrested on August 30th. This is August 19th. This is Jody. I think they kind of switch off. Like Jody will do one episode and then Ruby will do one. This is Ruby's episode, actually. So let's just listen to like a minute or so of this so that you can get a little bit of a better handle on, like I did, about what it is that Ruby's beliefs are with regard to children. Let's just go here and play a little bit of this, and then what I play for you, Jody's episode, is going to blow your mind. So hang on tight. Everybody ready? Here we go.
We don't have a problem with it. And we need to. We need to. Have you seen the kids today? Have you seen their entitlement? Have you seen the selfishness? And again, don't misconstrue my words. I'm not saying everyone, but there are a lot of children who are very in need of principles, and they need to be connected. They need loved. And you cannot do that when you are moving toward your predators. Pornography, gambling, the sex trafficking, lying, the lies in school. I mean, there's a whole gamut of lies in school. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start. Selfishness, the idea that I am what I feel, the idea that I get to do what I want because I want to, those are pernicious lies that will kill your soul. So we as parents, yes, we need to be in the libraries taking pornography out of the libraries. Yes, we need to be going to the school district meetings. And we, if your kid is in public school, if you are willing and able to make the sacrifice, you pull your kid out of school. Kids need to come home. This is the greatest gift you could do for your child. Get them out of the school systems. And the private schools aren't.
Get them out of the school systems. You know why? Because the teachers are mandatory reporters. So if your kid is coming into school with rope burns on his wrists and duct tape marks on his wrists, you might get in trouble from CPS. Do you believe this woman? This was August 19th of this year.
She's about to
11 days
about porno.
Before her son.
Crying.
11 days before her son escaped from Jody's window in a malnourished state. And she's advising parents to take their kids out of school because it's pernicious.
She's a homeschool,
They need
don't
principals.
spare the rod, be hardcore against your children, fire and brimstone. She's a Calvinist. It's insane. Like, this woman is legit fire and brimstone. She honestly sounds like a lot of the parents in the area I grew up, which is very Southern Baptist, like snake handling Pentecostals and stuff. Like, it's a situation where it's like, no, they're showing you porno because they showed you a New Kids on the Block video. So now you have to be homeschooled for 9 years and you can dance with your brother at prom, but there's no dancing. So, like, it's very, like, this is, to some people, this goes, oh, they go, oh, this is child abuse, obviously. But if you grow up there entrenched in that type of community, no matter what religion it is, again, like, I grew up in an area with a lot of Southern Baptists. This can be considered normal. It's a slow indoctrination of over hyper religious faith. But, like, I don't know if you ever watched The Real World, but the season with Real World New Orleans, there's a girl who comes from a strict fundamentalist LDS Mormon household. And she shows up in New Orleans in the Real World house. You can imagine how that goes. Now she's a doctor of psilocybin mushrooms in Oregon. But back then in the episode, she's like, people are cussing. Oh my God. Like, she was like freaking out. And then it's like an Amish kid at Rom Springer. She just went nuts in New Orleans. She had so much fun. And she kind of realized, like, holy smokes, I was very isolated. Like, she had to go to church multiple times a week on the show. And that's when I first learned about it. And then you go in, all these shows have come out, Sister Wives, stuff like that. This is not too far off base, other than, like, oddly enough, other than the abuse as far as, like, the duct tape and even the malnourishment, like the more hardcore, obvious, like, oh my God, this traumatic stuff. Some of it are considered like grow it. Like, this is essential for my kid to grow. I have to beat them. They should fear me. If they don't listen to me, I have to deprive them. This is a very common practice among strict religious households, restricting them from secular things. And by secular, I mean even public school. Like, it's,
remember Footloose? I mean, that was old. That's an old movie, play, whatever, musical. Nobody was allowed to dance. I mean, you know,
but it's becoming more common, though, I think because of COVID, because they pulled all the kids out. So now there are parents who realize, like, oh, now my kids can't see their friends and, you know, do stuff after class. I can get them in trouble. Or I'm able, because I work from home, so I'm able to homeschool my kids. So we're seeing a lot more of that, but we're also seeing a lot more of, like, inability to readapt to normal society pre-COVID. And we're also, because of and I'm not going to get too far into it, but because of the anti-vax thing, it's hard to ignore that there are a lot of parents who keep their kids home specifically because of this one political stance. And, like, a ton, they're like,
we're not talking about politics or religion during this show tonight, because there was a little you know, problem last night on the show that I was on. So we're going to stay away from politics and religion. Here's the thing. But let me redirect.
It's not a negative thing, though, is what I'm saying. It's not.
No.
Like, this is a parent saying, I'm saying, like, the idea, the act of, hey, I really like this, I want to homeschool my kids. That's not a bad thing in instances where kids are healthy and nurtured and in a good environment, a healthy environment. When you're in an environment isolated like they are, with the things going on with connections and with the family dynamic, it's not good for these kids. And she is slowly, you can hear in the podcast, she's descending into a very strict.
But who is she to be giving parenting advice to anybody? Okay. And pre-2020,
no one.
This woman was on YouTube punishing her children, threatening to cut off with scissors the head of her little 4-year-old daughter's beanie baby. And the little girl, who is the one who escaped from Jody's house, by the way, or was rescued by her, thank God, little brother, who had the courage to get out of there somehow. The little girl was playing with scissors, and the mother said, if you cut one more thing of mine, and she held up her little beanie baby stuffed animal toy. She said, and she had scissors. I'm going to cut this head right off of your toy.
And have you ever seen someone do abuse so public yet so private at the same time? Like, think about it, keeping the kids isolated and then simultaneously publicizing the abuse. To me, that's a whole different level of gaslighting, because you're showing it, but you're also denying it happened. Yes,
Agreed.
exactly. Like isolating kids is not
That's right,
new,
Holly.
but it's en masse happening more just because of what's happened in the past few years, like schools shutting down. That's not an opinion thing, that happened. Like,
yeah, and a lot of people did take their kids out. And listen, I lived through it with 3 girls in middle school, and they were out of school for 2 years. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to homeschool. It is so much work. And it was hard enough for me to get my kids to do the homework that they were required to do. And it was incredibly, incredibly difficult. It has become a more popular, I think, in certain areas. I think it's always been popular. Here in New York, there's not a lot of homeschooling going on. There is a little bit more of it since the lockdowns, but let's take a look at this now, because I can't even. Here's an episode of Jody Hildebrandt from the podcast. This podcast is from November of 2022, and this one is called, wait for it, "Pain is Our Teacher." And I hope they play this at the trial. And I'm going to give them permission right now. You can use this, because this Spotify podcast is going to be gone by tomorrow. Just like the Instagram Moms of Truth disappeared, just like everything else is disappearing. Although I don't know why this isn't taken down yet, but I guess because they're in a jail
Spotify makes
cell.
it a little difficult sometimes.
Nobody's done it.
She can still monetize this, so she's likely going to try to keep it up.
Here we go. And we're going to play about the first 4 minutes of this, because it's probably all that we can take. Love it.
We so thank you for joining us at Connections Podcast. We, as educators of human connection, invite and encourage healing and facilitate personal growth through impeccable honesty, rigorous personal responsibility, and vulnerable humility. We invite everyone who's interested in gaining greater connection with oneself, others, and God to continue on your educational road to happiness and joy through our simple yet life-changing 3-step curriculum. First, search our library for personal learning, podcasts, videos, and workbooks. Second, register with our classroom for familial, parental, expert, and business classes. And third, join our community for personal coaching and group practicums. Thank you again, and enjoy our podcast.
Hit the like button, because she's about to start telling us how pain is our teacher.
Talk about the concept of pain and what its purpose is. Pain, P-A-I-N, pain. What in the world is the purpose of pain? So I want to start from the very beginning, which is at all of our entry points into the earth, which is when we were born. So all of us were born. And when that experience happened,
the mic issue that you hear is not ours.
Maybe you felt pain as you were being born, but you probably don't remember it, or maybe some of you do. However, within the first handful of hours of you entering the earth and being born into the earth, you experienced pain. So whether it was from a slap on your backside to get you to cry when you were born, or the pangs of hunger, the pain of hunger, or the discomfort of some kind of bodily symptoms, system that wasn't working quite right, or whether you felt the discomfort that comes from needing comfort or validation or warmth or closeness. All of us experienced pain as though it was some kind of rite of passage when we entered into this world. So we all are in the same boat, if you will, where pain is familiar to all of us. There isn't a person on the planet that hasn't experienced discomfort or pain in their life. And for all of us, it came at a very, very young age. So what is pain's purpose? Like, what is pain here to teach us? Why is it there? Why is it a part of our lives? And what is its motive? So I'm going to pose some more questions to you, because a lot of people, as I work with them coaching, they talk about pain as though it's some kind of bad entity. And so I just want to pose some questions to you, and I want you to think about it. So can pain be seen as helpful? Like a teacher? Can pain be seen as appropriate or even loving and necessary for us to experience? Or is pain always bad? Is pain always something that is just a nuisance and something we want to avoid? What if all pain, all discomfort, all unpleasantness, any other word that you would use to describe your fated relationship with pain, what if that was there to educate and instruct you? What if pain wasn't deemed good or bad, or right or wrong, but supportive and necessary for your betterment? And
pain is necessary for your betterment. Loving and necessary. She talks about the pain of hunger. Is her defense to these 6 felony child abuse charges going to be, pain is a good thing. Pain is necessary. These kids needed to suffer because they weren't good kids. They were dark. Reminds me of another case that we covered.
It's so disturbing to see people live their life by a cliche. You know what I mean? Like, and then force it onto their kids. The whole, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's not how you live, though. Like, this is crazy to me. They're like, you can abuse someone as long as you don't kill. Like, this is good for you to experience pain. No, it's not when you're a child and it's at the hands of your parent or an adult who's supposed to protect you.
So, I mean, these are her beliefs. This is what she believes, and this is what she's teaching these people who are paying for her courses and her therapy and her advice. This is what she's telling these parents, that pain is loving and necessary.
I see so many people in the chat going, homeschooling is good. It's good. Listen, just because I said homeschooling by bad parents, like we're talking about this situation, these parents. We're not talking about you. If you homeschooled your kids and you're
going out again.
Healthy and great and not isolated, good. I never had when you have bad parents. Oh, homeschooling is bad when you have bad parents, is what I'm trying to say. When you have abusive parents, it's bad. When you're isolated already and you grow up in a messed up household with a lot of people who have, bad intentions. If, for example, if you have someone abusing you and you are now forced to learn from them and be around them 24/7 and isolated from other students, that is bad. If you are a good parent teaching your children well and giving them a well-rounded education, that is good. Just because they're doing bad doesn't mean we're talking about your experience. You had a good experience. Never once would I ever say all homeschooling is bad. That's ridiculous. This is like saying, well, if you don't believe this, you must believe this extreme. No. This is a bad situation for kids like this to be isolated in this toxic situation with a woman who's like, pain is good. Let me be mean to my kids. That's love.
Right. We are not saying that homeschooling is child abuse. We are not saying that. We are saying that child abusers may want to homeschool their kids because it keeps them out of the mandated reporter system. Those are two very different things. I admire and bow down to anybody who has the ability and the patience and the tenacity to homeschool their kids. It's an amazing gift to be able to give them. What we are saying is that it can be something that child abusers hide behind to keep their kids out of public eye. Let me just do a quick shout out. Thank you, Lauren Fell, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you. Guys, hit the thumbs up button. We have 695 people in the chat. If everyone hits the thumbs up, we're going to have a whole bunch of thumbs up, and it helps that whole YouTube algorithm and all that stuff.
And I want to take a moment to also say, Melanie homeschooled. She knows more than anybody else how difficult that is. Like I just want to be very clear, because I do have mad respect for the parents who are capable of doing it, even with one kid, let alone 2, 3, 4. Like, oh my God. I'm just saying this, the events of the past couple of years have forced parents to.
Oh, you just went out again. I'm gonna take you out for 1 second until you get back in. No, that's not how to do it.
Abusive parent, it could happen.
Hold on, you just went out for a second. Let me let's take Belafin. It's brainwashing those who are not mentally well or weak in their mindset. I agree with you 100%. It is brainwashing. And my question is, what came first? Was Jody already, was Ruby Franke already completely nuts and Jody Hildebrandt just helped push her over the edge? Was Jody Hildebrandt the mastermind and the puppeteer behind all of this? Convincing, Ruby Franke that her children needed to be tortured, punished, held captive in order to somehow better them, because pain, after all, is loving and necessary. And it's the pain of hunger is also very important. And if you recall, going back to Ruby Franke's early videos, there was a video and she used food as a punishment constantly. If her kids were bad, they weren't allowed to eat. And if they didn't do certain chores before breakfast, they were not allowed to eat. And her daughter, who was 6 and in kindergarten and required to pack her own lunch for school, when the teacher called Ruby Franke and said, could you please bring her a lunch? She forgot her lunch. The Ruby said to the teacher, well, I understand that it would ease your discomfort if I brought her a lunch, but she needs to understand what it's like to starve so that next time she'll remember to bring her lunch. So let's just remember that this woman has used food as a punishment for a very, very long time for all of the YouTube world to see. And yes, pointer lover, who knows how long this has been going on? Thank you. I agree. Who knows? Where is the father? Where is Kevin Franke in all of this? Because there's been some chatter, and we're going to talk about this in a second, about when he disappeared, where he went, and how after he disappeared, Jody kind of moved in. So they're still legally married, but we don't know where he is and why he didn't find out about this and why he's not seeing his kids, because there's no divorce petition. There's no custody proceeding going on. I don't get it. Donna, could you all imagine what would have happened if he hadn't escaped? Yes. If he hadn't escaped, we might be sitting here talking about another Lori Vallow type situation and talking about not these poor little children who were rescued alive. We would be talking about children who are no longer here. And thank God that he had the courage to try to get out of there. Thank God. It's this kills me. This case kills me. Teresa Clinker, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. I appreciate you. I appreciate each and every one of you and my moderators for coming and for keeping the chat classy. Best mods on YouTube. And again, I love respectful dialogue. And I love the comments, and I love to read the comments and the chat. And there is a way to debate. We always don't have to agree with each other, but there's a way to do it respectfully. And when I see people getting nasty in the comments to each other and attacking people personally, it's not going to happen on my channel. So it's just not going to happen. I don't like the cursey words. Keep it clean. And we can all just get along, because we have a lot of things to discuss and a lot of things to change. Okay, Oblivious, wave to me. Give me the thumbs up if you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. All right.
Okay. Sorry, my stuff was messing up. I wanted to bring up real quick. Do you remember the Micah Stauffer case, just for a second? Did you ever hear about that? Very, not nearly this level, but an odd family YouTube situation where basically she was having issues with her husband that were almost the exact same. He also had his own car detailing channel. They adopted a baby named Huxley from overseas, and she kind of exploited his autism basically, and then decided he was too much to handle and gave him back. Like, gave him away, not even back, gave him away. And then shows up on her channel crying, going, it was a hard decision, but he just wasn't fitting in. He stole food. And also, there were pictures of him with duct tape. And then she goes on her channel and just apologizes. She gets a whole bunch of heat for it. She gets shut down. DCFS goes to her house, but they don't arrest her. It's a very similar situation, but she gave the kid away. No one knows who she gave Huxley to. She blames the adoption agency for giving her a bad kid. And she still tries to monetize the videos. It is so strange to me how there's so many little similar parallels with her. She even looks a lot like Ruby. If you look her up, the Stoffers, it's straight. I think they were maybe one of the first family mommy vlog channels where something involving what I would consider child abuse, a lot of other people did, and so much so DCFS got called. They did open a case. Just a very similar exploiting the kids on YouTube, making it out to be wonderful, and then you find out it was kind of this dark undertone. And I'm seeing just a lot of that recently, like these weird family channels. And you brought up something really good on yesterday. I think when you were on Off the Cuff, I think you brought up that where's the line, basically, like were you the one who was saying what's the law on this? Like, why are these kids allowed to be exploited? Like, are they allowed
there are no laws. France was the first country to enact laws in 2020 about child influencers and them being exploited. And also Illinois has just enacted a law, I think this month, that children, underage influencers cannot be exploited by their parents. And it's a real problem because these kids do not have the legal ability to consent. They don't have the ability to consent to being filmed 24/7 by their parents who are supposed to protect them. There's no production company involved. It's not like these kids are going on a reality show like John and Kate +8. Remember that? That was on network TV. Again, something else that I disagree with, because I think those children were also terribly exploited. The Octomom, didn't she have a show too? I mean, this needs to be regulated. These children, I read, and somebody said, and maybe you can confirm this from, some sourcing that you did on Reddit, that when Shari Franke, the oldest daughter, who's now 20, finally got away, I think actually they were all kicked out of the house when they turned 18, because Ruby also did a video about that, about how, this is my house and this is where I live and this is all my stuff. And when you turn 18, you got to leave or you got to get out. When Shari Franke left, I believe her bank account was empty. They emptied her bank account. She had nothing. That's part of this. People are asking, why didn't anybody report this? People have been reporting this, and I'm going to show you something else. In 2020, May, one of the viewers of this YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, started a change.org petition, which is still there. You can still find it. Here it is. And it's got, as of today, 17,873 signatures. And they set forth in here exactly why they think that CPS should be investigating this family. Things they have done, such as taking their youngest, Eve, to the supermarket naked at the age of 3 with just a diaper on. Another was when she told us Russell did not have autism because it was something along the lines of he was not intellectually challenged. Look, that brings up another point too. And I don't know whether or not this son, the 12-year-old who escaped from Jody's house, is autistic or not. If anybody in the comments, I know you guys have watched this channel for a long time, know, again, this is very reminiscent to me of Lori Vallow and JJ being on the spectrum, and how, because of that, or I don't know if it's because of that, or if it led to, or if it was a contributing factor of why he needed to be unalived in the Vallow case, or if it has anything to do with this case or anything, but it's two parallels in two different cases of these moms who just seem to have gone batshit crazy. And it's frightening. They sent their son,
Chad. You said a bad word.
I know. I usually don't say the cursey words.
No, I love it. Like, I'm mad too. This sucks.
They sent Chad, the oldest, who finally just escaped this home when he turned 18, to one of those troubled teen industry places, a wilderness camp, for quite some time, which is another whole thing I want to do a story about. And Paris Hilton has been very vocal and has testified in front of Congress about, because, by the
And
way,
Bad
those
Bobby.
troubled teen camps are not regulated in any way, shape, or form, and they don't have anybody running them who are actually qualified as such to do so. But yeah, this change.org petition has been going on for over 3 years. So people have been onto them. I don't understand how they got so many followers. If people just were watching it like a train wreck, like they couldn't turn away, they just had to keep watching to see what was going to happen next. Or if they really bought into her advice. I don't think so.
I think a lot of it also, if you go through the reviews, there's even like a couple of posts about it throughout the internet, mainly in the A Passenger Snark Reddit, where people are openly discussing like, hey, look, this is a fake review. And I think I sent you something about that. I said, like, I wonder if these are real, because you look at the screenshots. If you go to the Connections website on the front, they show the reviews like Connections help me, blah, blah. You can clearly Photoshop that, but they took screenshots of real reviews. But then when you go to the reviews and you kind of do some reverse searching on the screen names and who owns the accounts, you see these are like friends and family, or even Jody herself, where the IP address goes back to Ruby. So like, it's a lot of sock puppet accounting going on with them. And I was just talking about that in my video. Like, this is a real issue.
Tell everybody what a sock puppet account is, because a lot of people don't know.
It's just a fake account to persuade someone. It's basically a catfish, like, but not necessarily to like fall in love with me and then let me abandon you at a restaurant. It's not like that. It's more like, let me make 100 fake accounts to go in and push a religious belief, a political belief, a lifestyle choice, let me go bash someone and bully them under 100 different accounts. And the difference between a sock puppet account and a bot is a sock puppet account is ran by a person, and a bot is basically a algorithm, a robot that, is created spur of the moment to just say words that are pre-programmed. There's some that go off AI, some that go off coding, some that go off algorithm changes. And really what it is if you're a sock puppet account, you're just pretending to be someone so that you don't take the heat yourself.
Like
And
those Amazon reviews and the fake Amazon reviews and the fake everything. This is interesting too. And I forgot to mention this, and thank you, Karina, for bringing this up. People have been reporting these two crazy women, and Ruby's lawyer has been sending cease and desist letters to those who have been reporting them. 100%. There's a girl on TikTok who had copies of these cease and desist letters, because she had been trying to out them for a very, very long time and was complaining very loudly about the abuse that she was very concerned about, as many of the viewers were, like Amy Murphy, who got concerned if they didn't post. You were probably wondering whether something happened. And then, when this channel all of a sudden goes dark in 22, which I think is when she became connected in this connections thing with Jody. Because if we look, let's take a look now. I'm going to put this up and you can maybe walk us through this. Let's take a look at the truth of, and this is, I told everybody the other day, my kids get so mad when I leave, 100 tabs open. But I left the tabs open because I think this account has been taken down. So this is the Moms of Truth.
Yeah.
Instagram account. And if we sort of, tell me where to go with this, because if we do a deep dive and go like into the deep nether regions of the Instagram
Melanie,
feed. Yep.
I might actually I need to restart this real quick. It keeps freezing on my end.
You're good on my end.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. It's like doing this weird thing where it's like breaking up. Hold on.
You want to go out and come back in?
Yeah, let me go out and come back.
I'm just going to remove you. Okay. So here, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to show the pictures of the kids. Okay. It started out with Ruby. Here she is. Here's Ruby posting pictures of her kids. And then it kind of morphs into this other thing. it was the family pictures and the pool and the thing and the backyard. And then all of a sudden she's posting these memes. And then all of a sudden, dun, 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 there is her and Jody. So this is in July of 2022, which may or may not be. And then people are even saying in the comments, what happened to 8 passengers? So people are starting to worry, just like our viewer was, that something was going on. All of a sudden she went dark. That channel went dark. People had been 2.3 million people had been following her for quite some time. And in fact, she made millions and millions of dollars. And there's another clip out there, which is quite bizarre. And it's Ruby and Jody sitting on the couch filming their YouTube stuff for Connections. And Ruby starts crying and breaks down and says, I was making millions and millions of dollars on YouTube, millions and millions of dollars, and I gave it all up. And Jody puts her hand right on her knee and she's like rubbing her knee and, it's okay. It's okay. And then she's going on and on about the reason that she stopped is because her children became so entitled. And it's very, very, very telling. Okay, here's Kat. Well, Kat, you look frozen to me. Just move your arm so I can see if you're frozen. Cat wave. She's the techie, folks. She's the techie. Cat, you're gonna have to go back and come back in because you're still frozen on my end. Oh, here's another thing too. All of her sisters also have family YouTube channels. The grandparents have a family YouTube channel. The 3 sisters came out and made a joint statement on Instagram about how they've been doing everything they could for the past 3 years. And they've kept it quiet for the sake of the children, but this had to happen. And they're so glad it happened, but they had been doing everything they could to try and make it stop. And one of the sisters Bonnie gave a videotaped apology, which was heavily edited and monetized. And if any of you have seen it, please let me know if you think those were crocodile tears. And if the real reason they didn't go, they had platforms. They had platforms with millions of viewers combined. If they really wanted to do something, they could have used their platforms. And I don't care what anybody says.
Can you hear me?
There's
okay?
so many defenders. Yeah. So many defenders that are saying, oh, the sisters did everything they could. What were they supposed to do? If that was my niece and nephew, I would have been down at the courthouse filing petitions every day.
Let me tell you how I knew this sister was BS. And I'm saying it, she's BS, crocodile tears all the way. Because go back and watch that video. And I said this on your stream, I typed it in there. Do you hear the background audio?
I couldn't hear the music. You told me that there was music. I couldn't hear it.
Oh, it's the sad like piano with the dun 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 dun. She went in and made this teary video and then said, I need to put some sad music in the background, and then clicked through and picked out music. And then like the editing process, if you've never done it before, takes so long. Like even something as simple as a video, it can take 2 seconds, but that's
why I go live.
She had to manually add that. So to sit there and go, ooh, I need to worry about my aesthetic and it needs to sound good. Let me add this background and I'll pick the sad one because it's a sad topic. That's a special kind of screwed up to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it if it's an apology video, but like this is kids were abused. Like, chill with the background sad music already. And you can hear it crescendo. And it's like, what are you doing here? You're editing in this stuff. The tears could be edited in for all I know. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
I found it to be, and I don't follow these people on YouTube. So if you guys are fans of the sisters, that's all well and good. But I find it a little bit disingenuous when she says we did everything we could, because I think a lot of us would have done a lot more if we knew that this kind of stuff was going on. Thank you, Yara, so much for the $2 super chat. Sherry said they used her for therapy for years. Oh, the oldest daughter said that. Yeah. So this woman was a therapist to at least one or more of the children and actually did Kevin and Ruby's marriage counseling. And there's some videos of that, of Kevin and Ruby doing this marriage counseling. So yeah, eventually, this Instagram page sort of morphed into this thing where all of a sudden here's Jody And they're talking, this is their big thing. They talk about truth versus distortion. Truth and distortion. These are like their principles. I don't know if these are principles of therapy. I looked it up, and there's some rooting of it in
they make up
some
their
kind
own
of therapy.
phrases.
I don't know what kind of therapy, some sort of whack job therapy maybe, but it's thank you. Hokuto Tube 75 for the $4.99 super chat. No excuse for this abuse. I agree with you. And thank you also, Apple Gal Crochet, $5 super chat. She would claim persecution in court. Quite possibly.
I mean, she
Go
can
ahead,
claim
Kat.
it all she wants. Abuse is abuse. They're going to say, okay, did you put duct tape on your kid? Okay, no, go to jail. Like there's no all these words, all this like jargon, all the like choice and alcohol. This is so Lori Vallow Daybell. Everyone knows it. It's Jody is Lady Chad Daybell, in my opinion. This is very common brainwashing, be it from a church, a cult, an organization, it could be, name it, any of them. They're a dime a dozen, and there's a whole bunch of them. But the levels that she takes it to, and the fact that she interprets everything to be let out as abuse my kids, and that's normal to her, is insane. Like, the fact that she is a woman guiding her, and yet she's still doing stuff like this. And then simultaneously, I don't care what anyone says, her husband, if you're the father of kids, and you have been in their lives, and then even if your wife leaves you, you should be actively staying in touch with your kids, trying to see your kids. By all accounts, this guy was not doing that. And when he did, he was shady about it. You know what I mean? It was very elusive. And here's the thing, it's never the kid's fault. It is 100% up to these two parents to figure out, hey, how are we going to have your dad in your life? Or the dad saying, how am I going to be in your life? But he should have been climbing through that window inside to get to his kids, as far as I'm concerned. So he deserves to be in jail. How do you
especially since the oldest daughter has been saying that this has been going on for years and years and years. And she left when she was 18. She's 20 now. She's been out of that house for 2 years. I don't think he's been out of that house for 2 years. Did you find any like good sourcing on Reddit that can let us know when he left or disappeared or sort of went off the radar?
Yeah, everything that I could find on it is like, basically last spring, he was fired from being a tenured professor at BYU. And if you go back to his Rate My Professor page and you scroll down, before any of this stuff happened, he has awful reviews. Most of them are like, weird dude. This guy is a horrible teacher. I truly did not have any a great experience in this class at all. It wasn't an insanely hard class, but it was awful. Like, no one liked this guy. He gets fired. That's really, you don't see a huge online trail, except he pops in and out of videos and pictures. But there was a Redditor who ran into them like 2 years ago. It looked like they were at a bar or a restaurant, and her husband got a picture with Kevin and Ruby. And it's like, this is when she was struggling, saying that she couldn't afford things in the house and that things were rough, but like, look at them. You know what I mean? So it seems like he was just kind of popping in and out. Maybe they were having fights, but it feels like this is a fairly recent thing. And I'll tell you this much, when her channel stops, like, what was it, 2020? I mean,
no, 22. Oh, I don't. Yeah, no, I think it was 22. Yeah.
All I know is if you have a family channel, you need a family to run it. So when that channel stopped is when I would presume he stopped being around as much.
Well, I think it was when the neighbors said that all of a sudden Jody's car was in the driveway all the time, and then poof, Kevin was gone. So it was like, if this is her MO, worm your way into the family, create a divide between the couple. She knew what problems they were having because she was their freaking therapist, providing marriage counseling for them. She's probably whispering in Ruby's ear, like, oh, you got to leave him. You got to leave him. You got to leave him. She worms her way in. And then, excuse me, why are these children found in Jody's house in Ivins, Utah, which is, by the way, 4 hours from Springville, where Ruby lives, where the other two children had to be rescued from? It's not like they live in the next town. It was 260 miles away. So when we heard on the scanner, or maybe we didn't hear this part, how they had to go find the other 2 children at Ruby Franke's house, that was in a completely different county, 4 hours away in Springville, Utah. So,
and again,
yeah,
like Lori, the kids are all split up, you know? And she doesn't even have a ton of ex-husbands. That's what's weird about it. These are just like, they're at her friend's house, her therapist's house, her ex-husband's house, her house. Like, why can't these people stay put? Like, what's going on here? Where I still can't figure out where the heck Kevin's been sleeping. Like, where does he lay his head?
Well, no,
night?
I think they say
like,
he moved out and he's with Chad, because Chad was kicked out of the house or wanted to get out of there too. But when he turned 18, which was just recently, he's the son who was forced to sleep on a beanbag for 8 months when she took his bedroom away for playing a prank on his little brother. Meanwhile, this lady's taking away Christmas, and that's not a prank. That's a serious, legit punishment. Oh, thank you, Angela. Yeah. There's no panic room. That was a different call. That's why it got so confusing. And I was wondering why I hadn't seen any more reporting on it, but I didn't even see any reporting that said that there was no panic room, because when I heard the original audio, because remember, you and I were listening it today, we were hearing different calls come in and we're like, oh, we got to audit this, edit it and take some of that out.
Was the kid who he said he was going to elope. So that was a different one. When they were talking about the room, I was assuming they were talking about the room that the 2 kids were in, that when they went back in the house, that was the room that was, I guess they called it a basement. And it was supposedly the podcast area where they sit, and it was in 2 videos, but that's like the basement of that house.
But so I don't think they've ever said where the daughter was found, what part of the house she was found in when they went to the house. Although they did say that it took her 4 hours to agree to go for medical treatment.
I think when it was reported that, or in the Reddit, the neighbors had come out in a couple of interviews and gone a little more in depth about what happened. And apparently the 2 kids were like in that house, and it was like within, what was disturbing is it was within sight of the adult. So it's like they were definitely in there with you in these conditions, like clearly malnourished.
Well, the neighbors Right. I mean, that's why they upgraded the charges, because they say that they were filming and that she knew it was happening. But the neighbors in Springville, where Ruby Franke lived, where the other 2 children were found, the 2 older children that were still in her custody, they had been very worried because she started taping up the windows, and they said that she had been leaving the children alone for weeks at a time while she was on retreats. I think the other 2 children are maybe 14 and 16. And the 2 that were rescued from Jody's house were 10 and 12. But apparently those neighbors also in Springville had been calling law enforcement for quite some time with no response. I just wanted to point this out real quick before I take it down. This is the last post on this Moms of Truth Instagram, which was just 7 days ago. Rid your relationships of transactions, manipulation, and deceptive motives. Rid yourself of control. Wow. And then there's some comments in here. I guess they forgot to turn off the comments. There's some comments in here from, well, again, can't do that
also,
from a jail
while
cell.
I will admit, it does look very obviously like they're in a relationship, and there's the rumors flying. Are they lesbians together? Whatever. Listen, one thing that is known about Ruby and her husband, if you go through all the groups, especially the Reddit, a lot of homophobic backstory there. Now, I'm not going to, I don't know, but I'm just saying that would be a bit odd. I really think this is more of like a overbearing, controlling friend that's trying to hand that rocks the cradle you more so than
I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that this Ruby woman is exerting, I don't know if she's Jody, sorry. I think I'm getting them confused now. They're both so evil to me. Is Jody brainwashing Ruby? Is she the puppeteer?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think if it is, it's one-sided and it's on Jody's side, because definitely Ruby is, not only do you get that vibe from her, like, I mean, I've said this to a couple of my friends who are lesbians. They're like, no way. But the other one, like, they look at Ruby and they're like, no, because you can even go back and see her history. Like, she is she has some very hardcore views that are intense, that are very offensive to some people. And it's like, I just don't see
Well, I
that.
think
I
that they
really
both
genuinely
do, you
think
know, and also they
Oh,
preach
yeah, for
about
sure.
like, you know, not being woke and everything, but who the hell knows what goes on behind closed doors? And I don't really care. What I care about is that these children had to escape from the basement of this monster and their mother, who was also aware of this. Give me just 2 seconds, Kat. I'm just going to
Yeah.
thank some people for giving for sending some lovely super chats. RB, thank you for the $2 super chat. As a fellow lawyer, I'll say I concur, counselor. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you agree with me. What kind of law do you practice? Maybe you can come on one day. Apple Girl, Apple Gal again, crochet with a $2 super chat. Fallait do. Yep. Galen, thank you very much for the $9.99 super sticker. Schmitty, how are you? I haven't seen you in such a long time. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Shame we got this through SM. We aren't saying thank you for the exploitation. Rather, this should bring to light the trials of children who have been crying out beyond SM. Laws can change. Yes. Yes. If you see something, say something. And if you don't get an answer, keep saying something and keep saying something. Be an advocate for other people's children. If you know your neighbor has 5 kids and you haven't seen them in 6 months and you fear that they're somewhere in the house, try and do something about it. Say something. Cheryl F, thank you so much for the Canadian super chat. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much. I couldn't do it without you guys. You guys are very supportive, and I love that you're here for me. And look, we got 774 people in the chat at almost midnight in New York on a holiday weekend, and that's amazing. I love you guys. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, you want to put them in the chat, please do that. Kat, I don't know how long we have you for, but yeah, the cease and desist letters. Sweet one. There was a comment by one of the kids.
But
okay, you want to come back on and say some last thoughts? Hang on one second.
Yeah. Just because Okay.
Okay, come and say you have any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are this. Stop paying people to tell you how to live your life. Simple. Like, if you're going to go to a therapist, go to a real licensed therapist. If you're going to become rapid fire friends with someone, if they try to convince you to move in with them and abandon your family and abuse your kids, maybe stop and go, maybe this isn't the walk I want to take. If you're going to be a podcaster or film your life and put it on the internet, stop putting your kids on there, full stop, because people will take pictures of their faces, save them, deep fake them, put them on very illicit images and sell them on the dark web. And they do it all the time. Simultaneously, just try to be aware when you see something that is very obviously descending into madness, whether it's in your own life or even if it's online. Like, there's these YouTubers who live their lives and then you go, that's odd. This is scary. Like, I see this in the background. That's terrifying. Like, a lot of people feel weird and say I shouldn't insert myself into their lives. And really, you shouldn't. But if they're abusing their children, that's different. So I think that if it's your friend, if it's your family, if it's your teacher, like, that's another thing is the teachers, they try really hard, but they have very little control. The neighbors tried really hard, very little control. But the family, there's a lot of control there that was laissez-faire. These aren't my kids. But the problem is for the dad, they are. So, like, for the aunts and uncle, they're your family. Like, just look out for each other. And it hurts to call CPS on people you love, but if you really want to love someone who's abusive to kids, then maybe someone should call CPS on you, because that's messed up. And I think that people need to start, everybody's all about protect our kids, and there's all these pedophile rings going on out in the world and stuff, and you spreading conspiracies about stuff that isn't real when there's very real abuse going on and actual, like, very real things happening around us that we're kind of overlooking for, bigger stuff that, can we prove it? Can we be the one? Like, look around you. If you have a neighbor who's being too loud and their kid comes home crying or they have scars or bruises, that's the time to step in. Sometimes you do need to make it your business. You do need to be nosy, and you need to do tough things that you might not want to get involved and go, it's not my business. But that's one of the reasons so many kids slip through the cracks, because so many people go, oh, it's not my business. So
right. Be nosy.
Yeah, be
Be nosy like you, like Kat.
By all means, snitch. Like I always say, stitches, they heal, dude. Get the stitches. It's fine. You'll be fine. You can snitch and get stitches and you'll be totally okay. You know?
Yeah.
Especially if it's to save someone vulnerable. If you see like an elderly person getting mistreated, if you see a couple walking down the street and a guy like pulls his girlfriend's hair, you know, you don't have to go up and save her, but call the police and say, hey, I saw this, take a picture, do something, you know, anything.
Yep.
Yeah. I
You,
insert yourself. If you're at the mall and someone's getting rowdy, you know, go up there and be like, how can I? No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But
do you have kids?
No, I have a dog. His name's Mikos. He looks just like me. We have the same tail.
Oh,
I love him, but
well, you're very, you know, you're very empathetic towards the plights of the children. And I know that you do a lot on your own time for free to help find missing persons and, you know, cold cases. And thank you for all that you do.
I have a lot of friends who grew up in foster care and grew up adopted and had messed up lives. And I also grew up in a very churchy place. So I've seen a lot of different forms of, you know, long-term, various kinds of abuse, be it alcohol, religion, or just plain bad parenting. And I can tell you this much, like, kids are not very good at communicating. And when you don't have parents who communicate good, that makes it even harder. So even if a kid is like, no, I'm okay, if you see them covered in bruises, they're not okay. So that's one of those things you do have to use a bit of gut instinct. I know I always gripe about psychics, but that's very different than gut instinct. I think that when you know, and it's better safe than sorry, you know.
Can you address this one comment from Hudson before you go?
Yeah. And I'll tell. Oh, I love Hudson, by the way. Katie Jeunesse case. Everyone look it up. He is on it. Okay. I'll tell you this. Predators love patients. I think he says who over or
parents. I think it should say parents.
Okay, who over Sharon's. Yes. They love that. And you know, I'm not even gonna go into the public shaming thing because I get what you mean, Hudson. But yes, there is a whole lane of a dark part of society that likes to see kids abused online and they pay for it. And there's a whole dark side that like to see parents being abusive and they pay for it. And there are cases going to court right now for that very thing. And I think that, again, online, a lot of people will see stuff and go, well, that's on the internet. It's probably fake. I mean, there's a lot of things that are fake, but when you see a kid, just report it. What's the worst that could happen?
Can you tell people to stop posting pictures of their children? Can you tell people that National Daughters Day is not a real thing? Because now your information is out there and there's a picture of your daughters and for everyone to see, or any creeper that wants to find it. National Sons Day is not a real thing. And what is it with parents of teenagers who are posting pictures of their teenage daughters in bikinis on Facebook? I don't get it.
Hey,
I don't get it.
I'm going to propose something here today that is going to blow everyone's freaking mind, okay? If
Please
it's a holiday, go to the person that you want to tell happy birthday, Merry Christmas, happy dog. Go to your daughter, look her in the face and say, Happy Daughter's Day, daughter, or call her on the phone and say it. You're not speaking directly to your daughter when you're addressing all of Facebook, making it public, tag her. She's going to see that later in a season. Actually call her and talk to her. Try that. I think it's so crazy that no one uses the phone anymore, really. Like, have you noticed that people will text? People will voice message. It's like voice messaging each other is just talking. Just do it. It drives me nuts when people want to send me 1,000 texts instead of just calling me and tell me something in 2 seconds. And I get why, but like people who never use their phones for communicate, like I remember one time I was like, how cool would it be if you typed and then the paper came out with the words on it?
Or how cool would it be if you could see the person on a TV screen that you were talking to?
Oh, exactly. And everybody's like, Kat, that's a typewriter. Oh my God. Like I tried to reinvent because I got so far removed from that already exists. So remember, if you're going to tell someone something, tell them. You don't have to go tag them on Facebook and put pictures of all their kids at the beach with the geolocation data on. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Bad idea.
Just don't do it. It's always the people that post their happy lives all over social media and how great a time they're having in Europe and how happy their marriage is and how great their kids are that are the next people to get divorced or, have, not great things happening around them. I don't know why people feel this need for, this adulation among their friends. I mean, like when fake books first started, I thought it was kind of cool because it's like, oh, I could see like people from college that I haven't seen in 20 years and I'll see pictures of their kids and their families. But it's to the point where I don't even open it anymore. I hate Facebook. I
Well, when
really
it
do. I'm going to
started,
say it.
Facebook
I'm going
was
to
just
say it. I hate it.
I kind of love it for different reasons, but I'll tell you this much.
Yeah, for research for you, maybe.
No, for honestly, I think that I'm gonna be a little positive peach here. Facebook lets you do things others don't with your privacy, your data. I can actually go, but you have to manually do it, and that's what sucks. A lot of people don't want to undo all the stuff, but if you keep it up to date, you can lock yourself down to where they actually don't legally have the ability to keep anything from you, and they actually have to provide it to you at their cost. And they have legacy accounts and they work with the FBI if you go missing. There's like a lot of good things about it, but there's also a lot of bad stuff. Yes, don't post your vacation pics. And also stop taking pictures in front of your new house. Ooh, we just closed on a deal. Don't do that. Now everyone knows where you live, how much you paid for your house, and they know to go to Zillow and see exactly how to get in.
Yes. Quick one more thing before you go. I know I said that one more thing before, but now I really have one more thing that I saw on Facebook today when I looked at it for the first time in months. Somebody said, if your child is going to college, make sure that they download the police scanner app from the town that they're in so they can be first to know of any emergencies. Is that a thing?
I mean, yeah, but that's like a nerd dad CB radio thing that's modernized. I say get Citizen.
Then so it's like a citizen scanner, but there is some kind of a thing. I mean, I thought that was kind of a cool, kind of a good safety first idea.
It is great, but no one's going to sit there. Trust me, I listen to scanners. They are jarring because they'll be totally silent and it's like, and then you just, like it's a lot. It's not pleasant and it really heightens your anxiety. If you do Citizen, you get to see the official scanner and then you get to see the gossip and the tea and then you get to see all the locals chatting about it and then you get video. So it's kind of a combination. You can pick which medium is good for you. Also, it oddly enough with the scanners, there's a lot of remember a lot of code that was going on there, and Citizen will kind of naturally there's a way that you can put your settings so that it'll give you that information without you having to look it up. So I always recommend Citizen. But yeah, I mean, can't hurt to listen to the scanners. What I do is I just put a Google alert on my town and then whatever crimes I'm scared of. Like I would put
right, but if you're at least if you have the scanner, you're getting it like right away.
Yeah.
Listen, I heard that the Chase Bank ATMs were out yesterday nationwide. Nationwide, nobody could get any money out of their Chase ATMs. Did anybody notice that?
That's actually
it was a major problem. That's really scary.
That was happening in Greece before the economy tumbled. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and spending all of this time with us. Please check out Oblivious Benson's channel. She's got some great videos up on how to find stuff online and do some sleuthing in your spare time. And, we're thinking about maybe we should do a show on online safety just for, people and just safety in general. And, for all of our kids that, may or may not be going away to college and, how to stay safe. Like I think that's a topic we should cover. So
we should definitely.
We'll do that. All right. Thank you so much for coming in. Everybody say goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. You guys are the best. Like and subscribe to Melanie's channel and get all of her notifications and updates, or I will find you. No, I'm just kidding. Bye.
She knows where you are. Okay. We are back. Let's go to some comments now. You guys have so many interesting things to say. Amy Murphy says, seems like she feels like she's above the law and policies. Ruby glorified her on a godlike pedestal, which Jody kept Jody puffed up. Yes, I agree. Something weird is going on there. Something in the water. They fed off of each other. It was like some sort of symbiotic relationship. I have a feeling that that Jody was using Ruby for her money. Oh, I think they both have a lot of money though. So maybe for her following, maybe for her, social media prowess. Diane, will you show the court on the 8th, please? Do you guys want to go live with this court hearing? If you do, put a Y in the chat. If you want to see this, I don't know if it's going to be an arraignment or a conference or an appearance or what's going to happen on September 8th for Ruby, Frankie, and Jody Hildebrandt. But if you want to see it, put a Y in the chat. And you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. So, because I want to see it. And I want you to watch it with me, just like we watched that press conference about James Burke. Oh, Sulu, my belief is that the charges should be upgraded to attempted felony murder and or felonious assault. These two creatures are demonic and not human. Again, my opinion. I respect your opinion. I hope everyone else respects your opinion too. And I happen to agree with your opinion. And it's going to depend on the interviews with, when I read to you earlier, the probable cause affidavits, they had not interviewed the other two children that were being held at or that were at Ruby Franke's house yet. So it's going to depend on what some witnesses have to say about how long this has been going on, who knew what, who knows if there's going to be other charges coming against the other children that were not directly involved in the police call that morning of August 30th. Julie M., thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I love your channel. Thank you for all you. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. I wouldn't have it without you. RB is back as defense attorney, maybe OPC. I'll offer counterpoints. All right. Reach out to me. My email is in the, thank you for the $2 super chat, is in the main channel description. You just have to click that you're not a bot and you can get my email. I'm also on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. TikTok, but I don't really use TikTok that much. Miss Stiffy. I like that name and I like your picture. Oh, is that Amanda Rollins from Law and Order? I love that. Oblivious Benson and Amanda Rollins. I think it is, unless it's you and you could be her sister. Perfectly succinct, empathetic, and hugely accurate, outlining and explaining what illegal and morally wretched acts done to those vulnerable children. Yeah. Ruby, power and money obsessed and projected pure evil. Yes. And, it's interesting that you say that because I haven't been in the same room with her, but I was in the same room with one of our most notorious suspected accused serial killers, Rex Heuermann. I did go to court for his first appearance, or it wasn't his first appearance. He had already been arraigned, but this was his conference. And I sat in that courtroom and he walked into that room. This guy who, if you don't know who he is the Long Island serial killer accused of unaliving 3 of the 4 Gilgo 4 whose bodies were found in 2010. And it took them 13 years to arrest someone for various reasons out here on Long Island. Rex Heuermann walked into that courtroom and I could feel the evil emanating from his body. It was, you could just feel that presence in the room. It was haunting. It was, very uncomfortable and it was very real in my opinion. And I'm not, with the Ouija board and having seances and that kind of stuff. I mean, you could feel it. You could feel it. And yeah, pure evil. Juana Michelle question, anyway, they get away with this? I don't think so. RB got any defense attorney tax on how they're going to get out of this? I don't think so. I can't see it. God, I hope not. 6 felony charges. I don't think so. Amy Murphy. Ruby hated being a mom and wife. She's always been abusive. Jody came along and validated that abuse. Jody even told her she wasn't abusive enough and stepped up to mentor her into how to abuse. Are those your thoughts on this, or you have some inside information? But this sounds like a theory that could be valid. Holy crap, it's scary. Amy in Boston, Melanie, keep doing exactly what you're doing. Incredible content. Thanks for all you do. I think that's supposed to say. And thank you, Amy in Boston, for listening and for keeping it classy. And yeah, hypervigilant. Yeah, I agree. Wild lights, arts, hypervigilance, and intuition are definitely connected. Yeah. We all have those fight or flight responses and they are real. you know, and people have a gut instinct, and your gut is usually right. Your gut is usually telling you something that is totally true. Totally true. Anybody have any more questions or concerns? We are in here already for an hour and a half. It is midnight in New York, and who could think of a better way to spend in midnight than hanging around with all of you guys and girls? And I've been saying this for a long time, but I swear we're going to do it. There's been a lot of childcare issues and other things come up, but my friend and therapist, Meredith Beardmore, has written a book. It is called Hey Addiction, Thanks for Nothing: How to Love an Addict Without Losing Your Mind. We are going to do a show on her new book, and we're going to talk about it. When she was searching for resources to help herself deal with family members who were addicts and alcoholics, she didn't find anything out there, so she wrote a book about it. And I think it touches us all in different ways, and it crosses economic and social boundaries, addiction and alcoholism. And I think that this is going to be a very interesting conversation. We're going to do this at 4:00 p.m. New York time on Friday. So that is it for me tonight. Thank you all so much. Before you go, you know, YouTube gives me all of these statistics and way too many analytics, but apparently at least 60% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So come on, guys. If you subscribe tonight, you're going to be in my first 10,000 subscribers, because I just broke 7,500 today. And I've only been on YouTube for like, what? I don't know, 10 minutes or so. No, I've been putting out videos for maybe 60 days. So come on, get in here on the first 10,000. Let's do this. Let's do this. We have a lot of things to cover, a lot of things to talk about. It's always fun. It's always interactive. We have such lovely people in the chat. Hit the thumbs up on your way out. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. All that good stuff. If you want to buy me a matcha latte, there's a link in the description for that too. So everybody have a great night. It's going to be a short week. I'll see you at least again on Friday, probably one more time in between. I think I want to update you all on the Kevin Costner divorce, just so that we can have something a little lighter in between these really heavy, dark shows on children, because listening to true crime all the time can be very nightmare inducing. If any of you are on listening to true crime all day, tell me, do you have nightmares every night too? Because it really does invade your soul in a very special and uncomfortable way. All right, everyone. I will see you real soon. Thanks so much for tuning in. Good night.